What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Sovah Says podcast show. NFL Scouting Combine is underway. Finally, we've waited all this time for it to finally get here. The work on the field hasn't started yet, but players are at the podium. Today, we had the first two groups as far as the defensive linemen and the top linebacker prospects meeting with the media today. So that's kind of what this show is going to be. Going to go over and play some of these notable sound bites today, kind of react to them a little bit from some of the top players. A lot of players who have some ties, maybe have met with the Bengals, could be guys that are projected to go potentially at number 10 or later in the draft. Really wanted to hear some of these sound bites from some of the most interesting guys. So I'm going to scroll through the Twitter feed here. I've got some sound bites lined up. So we'll kind of get some reactions and check out what these guys had to say. So one of the things that one of the top guys there, obviously one of the top guys in the draft that could go anywhere from number 2 to number 10 in the draft is Miami edge rusher Rueben Bain Jr. And if you saw this photo today from Jeremy Roush in Fox 19 Cincinnati, I mean, the guy is a rock star. Look at the media on hand to listen to Rueben Bain Jr. today. What an audience he drew today. So another funny that I found this really funny. It's been kind of hard to come up with the proper player comp, NFL player comp for Rueben Bain Jr. He's such a interesting prospect as far as body type. Production obviously is off the charts, and his strength is one of his biggest attributes. So you think you would kind of like lean towards defensive tackles and players that rush from the inside, but I mean, he can play. He has versatility to go up and down the line. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Geno Atkins, but isn't as big of a body. And he kind of reminds me of Calais Campbell, although again, doesn't have the arm length, not quite the same body type, but definitely similar play style, similar violence on the field and with their hands, and the way he's able to just rock guys trying to block him off of him. So Mike Golick Jr., my comp for Rueben Bain is Optimus Prime. So everyone's struggling to find the right pro player comp. So we're going to fictional characters, none better than Optimus Prime. I thought that was a really good tweet by Mike Golick Jr. A couple of sound bites stood out today from Rueben Bain Jr., and I wanted to play this first one. He was asked about what teams have said to him about his arm length and any potential issues that might have.
None of the teams seem to be too concerned with it, as long as just talk and walk the walk, play with technique. Nobody really asks me about it.
So yeah, there you have it. No one's really asking about it, and I really wouldn't assume that anyone would ask about it. I think that's kind of something that teams will discuss behind closed doors, not directly with Rueben Bain, because obviously if you ask him about it, what is he going to say? Do you see your arm length as being an issue? No, of course he's going to say no. He's going to say my numbers, do all the talking and my production. And if you see, my arms, despite their longer length that maybe is a prototypical size and length for a defensive edge, it doesn't matter. Rueben Bain throws guys out the clubs with his arm. His arms are just fine. Another soundbite, Joe Daneman from Fox 19. This one got a lot of traction today, getting picked up around the web. And, just kind of, you think of Rueben Bain Jr. as got that dog in him. And, this soundbite says it all right here.
Teams to know about you that they haven't already seen on tape when you meet with them this week, and what was your interaction like with the Bengals?
To know about me, shit, that I eat, sleep, and breathe football. That's all I do. I don't have no other hobbies, no other real interests outside of football. That's all I care for. That's all I want to do. And the Bengals, like I said, was great. I was going in with the right mindset to kill all interviews. I prepared myself the right way. throughout these last 3 to 4 weeks, and I had the right mindset to just go in and give my best foot forward, and that's what I did.
So as he said, he met with the Bengals, and we can expect the Bengals to meet with all the top edge prospects, all the top interior guys. They're going to do their due diligence and really look at helping this pass rush, finding the best prospect, finding the best player to take at the 10th spot in the NFL draft. So yeah, I can't imagine there isn't any stone going unturned with Rueben Bain Jr. As you heard, the guy eats, sleeps, and breathes football. He doesn't even have hobbies away. Football is his hobby. Kind of went back and forth with Miles Murphy's brother Max on X today, and he had the perspective as, man, he's going to need to find a hobby because he can't let football, kind of be the only thing. But you know what? It's nice to hear that, you can definitely hear the passion. You can hear how important football is to him. So for Rueben Bain Jr., I think, he basically knocked that part of the process out of the park, as some of these sound bites went viral because people were so excited to hear some of these things. As we continue to kind of go through some of these players here, a guy I like a ton, and he comes from this Texas Tech defense that is on the front seven is just loaded with guys that could go in the first two, let's just call it for the first 2 nights of the NFL draft. And nobody, you have the 2 edge rushers, and those guys, probably get all the highlights and all the glory because of the crazy sack numbers that they're putting up. But Lee Hunter, their defensive tackle, their big guy on the nose, over the nose of the football, and when you watch him, you see how violent he is. You see the way he uses his hands and is able to shed blocks. I like Lee Hunter, this pick a lot. He also met with the Bengals and was asked, kind of about taking on double teams here. Here's what he had to say.
When you start to run, you help yourself pass rush, especially if you got dogs inside of you, so you'll get more one-on-one blocks, so you can beat. So I think I can beat people one-on-one, but when you slide to me on third down, you got 600 pounds on me, then it's that. But, when you give me a one-on-one, I feel it myself, I'm going to beat you. You feel like you.
So yeah, you're not going to get too many one-on-ones, obviously, when you play inside like that, and there's a guard and a center looking to help and maybe double team, a more productive and bigger player and rusher and run stopper. But what he had, and what he kind of was alluding to there, is he obviously had 2 stars on the edge that helped get him more advantageous one-on-one matchups. So, if Lee Hunter, let's say the Bengals were to draft Lee Hunter in the 2nd round, hoping that Miles Murphy, Shamar Stewart, whoever else they bring in, sort of draws some more attention, and Lee Hunter is able to get some one-on-ones. And I think even at the NFL level, he'll be able to take advantage of those one-on-ones. Let's continue to kind of go through here. So the linebackers obviously were a big part of today, and maybe the top off the ball linebacker, strictly off the ball linebacker. There's going to be a lot of talk about Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles' teammate at Ohio State. Arvell Reese is probably going to be that hybrid, maybe even a 3-4 outside rushing linebacker. Although he can play off the ball, weak side chase linebacker, I think Arvell Reese is going to get a ton of opportunities come rushing off the edge, whether it's with a hand in the dirt or standing up. So he's sort of that like hybrid, TJ Watt like position and playing style. Sonny Styles, on the other hand, and while he talks about, hey, he does like rushing the passer, it won't necessarily be with a hand in the dirt. He'll be bringing a blitz from the 2nd level, but he is the number 1 rated. He is at least my number 1 rated and probably the consensus number 1 rated off the ball linebacker. You hear comparisons to Fred Warner, and if you're going to get compared to a linebacker in today's NFL, and it's Fred Warner, then you are looked at with the highest of regard. Let's hear what Sonny Styles had to say at the podium today.
Sonny, if there was one or two favorite plays from your college career, what would they be and why? Like plays that stand out, plays you'd want to show NFL teams.
I think especially with not rushing this past year, one of my favorite plays from 24, we got a chance to rush the edge against Texas, got a strip sack. I would show that play just to show, despite me not rushing the passer this past year, there is some upside there. Obviously, with the way our team was this year, that wasn't my role. But just to be able to show there was some upside there.
What about a linebacker play?
Linebacker play, probably I would go the jet sweep versus Miami. I think the key part of being a great linebacker, especially in the NFL, is being able to watch film, being able to anticipate what's coming, and that's what happened for me right there. Saw it in the film room, came to the field, made a good play.
Sonny, if there was
Yeah, so there you have it there. And shout out to Doug Farrar, legendary NFL beat writer, for finding those specific examples that Sonny was talking about and B-rolling his sound clip that we are very grateful to be able to play here. Sonny Styles, again, you hear it in his voice. He likes to rush the passer. He is going to be a jack of all trades at the linebacker position. And I see him more as an off the ball guy at the next level. I think most people do. And that's why he's the top guy at his position headed into the draft. Now, another off the ball linebacker. Here's a guy. Again, it's going to sound like a broken record when talking about this Texas Tech defense from the previous year that was just loaded in the front seven. Their best linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez. What a season for Jacob Rodriguez. If we look at, some of the stats that he put up, let's pull up his player profile here real quick to look at his statistics. He was just a guy that literally did everything for that defense. Great in coverage, a animal and a missile in the run game, had a great Senior Bowl week down in Mobile, was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year in 2025, first team All-American. You look at the numbers, 2 years in a row, he led the conference in tackles. 2 years in a row, over 10.5 tackles for loss. He had 5 sacks in 2024. He had 1 sack last year. But what he was able to do in that he hadn't previously done was really flash the hands. 4 interceptions in 2025 and 7 forced fumbles. So you're talking about a turnover machine when it comes to Jacob Rodriguez, a guy that is often in the right place at the right time because of his rare instincts and his ability. Let's hear what he had to say when he was asked about, did he think he had the greatest season ever for a linebacker? And you're going to be maybe surprised on how he explained it.
I think statistically, I'd like to think so, but more so what we did as a team. I think, as a team, we won the Big 12 championship for us, and that was the first time we'd ever done in school history, and the first time we won an outright championship in a really long time. And so that's something that, means more to me is, what that team was able to accomplish and before we get back to Lubbock and West Texas. I think
so Jacob Rodriguez, I guess you could say Jacob Rodriguez, team captain, team guy. He, loved the stats, but, wanted to really focus and represent what the team did, being the first Texas Tech team to win the conference like that. I think, kudos to him, kind of showing some, humility, maybe, a little less ego, was still proud of the season he had. Now, I'm sure, he's still a dog out there. So, really happy for Jacob Rodriguez. Definitely a guy that could go on night 2 of the draft. So someone the Bengals should absolutely be interested in adding to their linebacking room. Brett Coleman, good friend of mine and friend of the show, just chatted with David Bailey. That dude's arms enter the room 30 seconds before he does. He's big. So Brett Coleman, definitely impressed with another one of those Texas Tech studs, maybe the guy that'll get drafted first from this defense. Speaking of David Bailey, let's hear what he had to say about his pass rush repertoire.
I think the first thing comes with just being athletic. So, I had a great strength staff at Stanford, great strength staff at Tech that just helped me become the best athlete I can. And also, I just watch a lot of just edge rushers. So I try to emulate my game after Von Miller. I've watched a lot of DeMarcus Ware, Aiden Hutchinson. So just watching different pass rushers, getting a little bit different like tips and tricks from them. And then obviously like I play my own game, I have a unique game. So yeah.
And speaking of,
So, he pointed out that his career started at Stanford, then he eventually transferred to Texas Tech. David Bailey, All-American, as we take a look at, what he was able to do this year statistically, 19 and a half tackles for loss. That led the conference. 14 and a half sacks. That led the FBS. So David Bailey can flat out get after the passer. And I can't imagine you see a guy slide like that. I've seen a lot of mock drafts, potentially as high as number 2 to the Jets. But, I think I can't see him falling past 8 with the Commanders. I think David Bailey is going to go top 5 in this draft. And I think someone's going to get a player that is super talented and super athletic. Here's a guy in Peter Woods that I think a lot of, there's definitely a lot of talk in Bengals circles online with fans. If the draft falls a certain way and the, edge rushers, the Baines, the Baileys, even the Caleb Downs of the world are off the board, maybe even Sonny Styles. Let's say that top 10 is very defensive heavy. Where do you go with the 10th pick? And I think a lot of Bengals fans really, really like Peter Woods, the defensive tackle from Clemson. On the flip side, when you go to some of the bigger, the Daniel Jeremiah's, the Tom McShay's, they have Peter Woods, ranked a little lower than I think most fans and, most of like Twitter and the actual conversation for Peter Woods. Daniel Jeremiah has in his latest top 50 has him at 38, and that's sliding back 4 spots from where he was on his previous top 50. So a lot of people, I think, wonder, is there maybe some off the field stuff that we don't know about? Or there's some character concerns that have yet to come to light, but maybe, these insiders and experts having, had multiple conversations with colleges and scouts and coaches and people that have been researching this, maybe they're hearing something, or maybe they know something that, isn't in the, out in the forefront. But let's hear from Peter Woods about why he believes he could be why he deserves to be a top 10 pick.
Why do I? I think that I'm a game disruptor. I'm the type of guy, like I said, that causes offensive coordinators to lose sleep at night planning for me. You don't really know where I'm going to line up. You don't know where I'm going to be, but you got to respect it. And you got to know where I am at all times. I think that, like I said, I'm one of the best at shocking and shedding and getting rid of a man. And I think that's what our game is, to disrupt the offense. Why?
I mean, he's certainly a disruptor. I mean, if you go back and look at his tape from 2024, he was a guy that was consistently in the backfield, tapered off in 2025. I've seen a lot of chatter that he was used differently, he was lined up differently and asked to do different things on defense. So that may be why the statistics maybe sort of took a hit a little bit. People are going to question, the inconsistency. They're going to wonder if he really loves football. He plays a premium position, and he's a pass rusher in the inside of the defensive line. So you can never have enough of those guys. Those guys just don't grow on trees. And when you look at the upside and the potential for a guy like Peter Woods, it's probably too good for him to fall too far. So could he go as early as 10 to the Bengals if things were to fall a certain way, especially not only with the draft, but also with free agency? If they don't find a 3-tech in free agency or the right amount of depth at that position, they could be, thinking that if they don't draft this guy now, what comes after that at that position, which I disagree. I think there's some serious juice at that position, that could be had in rounds 2 and 3. But Peter Woods, potential to be an elite pick. And so he let you know at his press conference today. So, a good day, lots of good prospects. This is considered a very heavy, talented defensive draft. And Peter Woods is a guy that, could go top 15, could go potentially top 10. So we heard from, some of the top linebackers, some of the top edge rushers, the guys that made waves, the guys that made news today. So we'll continue to see when they hit the field. So tomorrow for these guys, they'll be doing, weigh-ins and, bench press and those types of things before doing their field workouts, 2 days from now, or depending on when you're watching this, when they do that, I believe on Friday. That's going to do it here for me, for Sovah Says. If you liked what you saw, if you're enjoying this channel, if you're enjoying this analysis, smash the like button, subscribe, get those alerts to when we go live. Got plenty of guests coming up. There's going to be some really big draft specials as we get closer with some, players making we're going to do a mock draft with players making the picks. So really looking forward to that. Really appreciate everyone who stopped by the stream tonight. Really appreciate everyone watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much. And everyone, I will see you soon.